Hello, hi. Kiran.
Hello, good morning. Atul Marathi here.
Yeah, hi. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'll just wait for Tigray sir. He will be starting the session. And I
Sure.
think we have still more people to join. There are hardly 13 people right now. So the strength is
Yeah.
around 30 to 40, something between 30 to 40.
Okay, no problem. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
I'll be on mute so that there's background noise from my end.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Tigray sir, are we starting or waiting for people to join? Because Kiran Vaidya is already there in the call.
Actually, I'm waiting for Ashok sir, Ashok Ranade sir.
Okay, sure.
I'm
Or
already
he
there.
can join in between so that we can. Yes, sir is here also.
I'm
Okay.
already here. Yeah. You can start.
Okay. Thank you. Kiran sir.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay.
Yes, I can hear
So,
you. Yeah.
yes, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for the opportunity as well.
It's our pleasure, sir. Without taking much of time, sir, I'll hand over the charge to you. Please, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So all of you can see my screen.
Not yet.
Yeah, I
Yes.
can.
Yes, we can.
Visible,
Okay,
sir.
great. Okay, thanks. So I will start my session. It's basically all the startup opportunities in this new evolving sector called as blockchain. And thanks for giving me an opportunity. I will quickly give my introduction. Sorry, I'm having some sore throat since morning. So I'm first of all born and brought up in Pune and passed out of VIT college. I did my bachelor's and my master's MCA from VIT Engineering College, which is again in Pune. So it's great to give back to the community from where I did my education. Right now, I'm in Toronto since last around 10 plus years. And in the last few years, I've been working very actively in the blockchain field, working with a few startups, as well as I take professional coaching classes for product management and blockchain. And I work in Toronto Hydro as an innovation consultant. So Toronto Hydro is just like our MSCB, where I work in its IT department, where we give them consultancy on how things, what are the latest trends in the market, and how they can incorporate it. So without taking much time, I'll quickly jump to the agenda. The agenda was already shared, and before even I dive deep into what exactly, why blockchain is going to create these hundreds and thousands of jobs, I would like to tell why the buzz around blockchain. So then a basic introduction of Web 3.0. I just yesterday realized, I think already Atul had taken Web 3.0 introduction, so I won't talk a lot on this topic. And then different opportunities in this blockchain sector. So that's where I want to make a clear differentiation that it is no more a technology. It has evolved into a big upcoming sector in itself, which means there are opportunities in every field for every type of person. And then lastly, I'll just quickly tell you, once you establish your own startup in blockchain, how it even helps you for any future immigration opportunities. So first, let me speak on why this whole buzz around blockchain. It's almost every single day, there is always some news on blockchain. There is always some big event that happens in blockchain sector. So what exactly is this blockchain sector? So I'm moving away from the word technology to blockchain being a sector. And I just want to quickly show you a map of Toronto City. So this is city of Toronto, surrounded by all of its neighboring cities. And each pin that you see on my screen is basically a ATM that is dispensing bitcoins. And because this is a screenshot, I don't have the interactive map with me, but basically you can see that just in the city of Toronto, there are 91 ATMs. As you go further outside of Toronto City, which don't have that much of population, then even then you have significant Bitcoin ATMs. And this just shows the amount of interest and the activity that is happening from the end user, which is consumers, which is people like you and me, the common person. So that is where the entire buzz is even if banks and governments and everyone else is a little bit slower to adopt, and they also have their valid reasons, the consumers today want this product. And it's just gaining traction exponentially. And the beauty being, there is no single marketing department, so as to say, for Bitcoin. It is a decentralized technology, and it's all organic, growing on exponentially. So people, consumers today are aware of cryptocurrencies. They are aware of the word blockchain, even like people who are not from technology background. And that just shows how it's expanding right now. And I'll just quickly tell you the 5 key factors. If tomorrow you have a blockchain startup, and now I want to make a clear differentiation as I move forward. It will start with obviously the very first use case of blockchain, which is cryptocurrency. And I'll slowly tell you how there are a million possibilities even other than cryptocurrency. You don't need to be involved or working with cryptocurrency. So as there are some regulations around it, it's still unclear. But as an IT professional or just as any professional, you can still work in the field of blockchain. And here I will explain just 5 key factors which I feel are the primary reason why tomorrow blockchain is going to be a really big buzzword. And it's going to be $1 billion industry. And the first thing I want to say is that every system, society, network. So even a digital network or even a society, a system, or maybe even between a family members, what two pillars of this is money and trust. Everything runs on money and trust. And blockchain is this technology which is redefining the basic core definitions of blockchain, of money and trust are being redefined. So when you change what is money and what is trust, that is when basically everything is going to change. Just for example, like no one ever thought like we will be staying in a stranger's home using a app called as Airbnb, but people are doing that because now they trust the technology. They still don't know the person. They still don't trust the person. But what they are trusting is the technology, and that is where when technology brings in trust, then that's when a completely huge disruption happens. The next I will like to say is blockchain, although its first product was cryptocurrency, which is still finance, payments, it is actually applicable in every industry. So when I say every industry, it means the entire financial, insurance, banking domain, but also it has huge implications in public services. It has a lot of potential in social impact, it supply chain, almost every enterprise profession, then the provenance, everything has a blockchain has a kind of use cases in that, and it is truly global in nature. So this technology is not only for Western countries or only for non-Western countries or a specific region. This technology is pretty much has an impact on every single region of the world, and even bigger impact is going to happen because till now almost all similar technologies, database technologies, big data, or even where applicable only impacted one type of people, only one profession. But tomorrow when money itself is going to change, what the definition of money is changing, then it impacts everyone. It impacts lawyers, it impacts people from regulation background, it impacts IT professionals, it impacts even people who are just accepting and using money. So it has a huge impact on many different professions, almost all professions I will say. And that is where the exponential growth, the moment blockchain is the technology is more mature, that's what's going to happen. And that is the reason it has the potential to disrupt, transform, and create a lot of new jobs. uh, Lastly, I will say that adoption is happening very fast. It is happening at, this is a unique time where it is happening at both top down and bottom up. So I already explained what is bottom up. Bottom up is basically from the consumers. Consumers want that product. And I have already shown you the map of ATMs in Toronto City. It's if you think of all the ATMs together as one bank, then those number of ATMs is much more than any one individual bank. That just shows how much the consumers want it. And that is what happens is many times the regulation is adopted as per the consumer needs. So when Uber came in, when Airbnb came in, almost every cities said we are not going to allow, but consumers wanted it. So slowly each region had its own regulation towards Uber. That's exactly what's happening with Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and overall the bigger blockchain sector. And even it's happening top down. So governments have all over the world, the governments, including Indian government, has a lot of bodies, has a lot of experts and advisors who are bringing in policy. This is a great example of how educational institutes are incorporating it. Enterprises already, they are doing proof of concept. Each and every company is investing in doing R&D. So what's going to happen after a few years is that this is going to be significantly huge. And the beauty is we are at the most early stage. It is like they say, It's like internet in the 80s. So we are so early. So whichever startups will will start at this point in time have a very bright and brilliant future. And the impact of technology is this disruptive innovation. What's going to happen by every blockchain product is it impacts the business, it impacts human behavior, and it impacts technology. All three together, if a technology is impacting, it's called as a disruptive, innovative technology. So just look at how human behavior is changing. That people are slowly, I'm not just talking about India, it's all over the world. People have started trusting money that is not issued by the government. It was unheard of. People used to be put in jail, but every country now that people have started using it as a form of money or as a digital gold, and they have started to use how we are sending money with each other. And this is not just because of blockchain, but overall human behavior is changing. We are sending each other money using QR codes, SMS, text, and similarly you can tomorrow send money that is using blockchain technology, using these same things. So human behavior is also changing. Business models are changing. There is so many, every day there are new regulations, then there are new skills that are required. So it has a big impact on business. So how business does any cross-border transaction, I will say, not just payment, any cross-border transaction is changing. How businesses used to raise funds, that is itself is changing. ICOs is a great example. Billions and billions have been raised in the last few years. It's called as initial coin offering. And businesses are raising money from people all over the world with just one website. Everything around that is changing. And lastly, the technology itself is changing, where we are pushing for more decentralization, which means we are going away from the traditional client-server model, as well as it's not like one IT system has more authority over other, and your data, your core data is distributed in nature. At the end of the day, blockchain is all about data, and your data is now distributed in nature. That's why there is no single point of failure. So when all of this is coming together, it's having a big disruptive impact on the society on a whole. I would just like to speak a bit on Web 3.0. So what blockchain is bringing is it's a core integral part of the Web 3.0. So Web 3.0 is not just blockchain, but blockchain is a part of that. And the first generation was Web 1.0, which is when the users, all of us who were on internet, it was more of a read-only mode, which means someone will publish it and we will just consume it. We cannot interact back with what we are reading. There was hardly intelligent, smart websites. It was just personal. There was not even properly personal website. And everything was more of static in nature. Then we moved to Web 2.0. This is when the .com boom, end of 90s, early 2000 happened. Now websites were interactive. There was social media. Even before Orkut and Facebook, there was social media experiments going on. MySpace was big. Blogging started, which means anyone can write anything and people can comment it on. So it was more read-only and interactive form of web. It was also better UI, and really an economy blossomed in internet. So all your business models of B2B, B2C, e-commerce, they started operating on internet itself. And then now we have entered the last, not the last, maybe there are new, but right now we are in Web 3.0, which is where complex web applications are executed just in your browser. So right now, from SAP to this same presentation, everything is happening through my browser, which is one step ahead. Now we have AI where you get personalized ad. ads. We all know that if you're searching on Google for something, the moment you go to Facebook, you already see ads for TV. So it's getting more smart. It's trying to predict your behavior. The database of internet is moving to the cloud. Everything is now cloud, SaaS-based products. And most important is the push for Web 3.0. So, sorry, for P2P network. So P2P network is where people like you and me are contributing for the infrastructure of the network. And this network, and there will be a lot of private internets. And this has already started with China, USA, each other banning, and India banning each different countries' apps. So each will have its own local internet. Earlier, there was just one global internet. Every website anyone could access. But now, and for this, you need decentralized technologies. Smaller, weaker countries, they cannot have this. So they will go to their own citizens and ask to contribute infrastructure. So this is where the P2P aspect is coming into play. And lastly, again, what is the Web 3.0? It is basically there will be all different types of devices. Right now on web, we can even stream games which are heavily resource. They need heavy resources. There is 3D graphics, AI. So this is, and again, lastly, it's again over blockchain, peer-to-peer networks, and that is where blockchain comes into play really. So now let me go to the core of what this was about is all the opportunities for startups in blockchain sector. First, I will say what are the academic and research opportunities for, say, PhD students or people who are really, really good at technical. So these, of course, academic and research opportunities are primarily for computer science graduates. So the first is the protocol layer itself. Our entire internet is working on hypertext transfer protocol, HTTP, TCP, IP. There are so many protocols involved. The moment we type something on the browser, we send to each other. A lot of different and these protocols, there are new protocols involved in when it comes to the field of blockchain. So IPFS and Filecoin. So IPFS is basically interplanetary file system, and this is when if any one of you in the early 90s used Napster, torrents, this is basically was kind of the core technology, which is people like you and me will run a client and it will contribute to the network. So the beauty about blockchain is that now you can have a native token or cryptocurrency and incentivize it, and don't think of it as purely money. What these tokens are necessary or mandatory for the network is it provides an incentive for you to do some work. So that work can be, I can share my hard disk. My hard disk, I have 40 GB hard disk and I'm using only 10 GB. Maybe I share 20 GB with to the network. So but what is the incentive for me to give away my 20 GB? Or what is the incentive for me to give my processing power? The incentive is the token, the inherent token, native token, which I will be given back as an incentive. And then this token is being today associated with a USD value. There is a market created by itself. And that is where the speculation aspect comes into play. But from the technology perspective, it has nothing to do with a dollar amount or converting to rupees. It is basically just a digital token in itself. And Filecoin raised more than 200 million. So as a startup, if you put up a white paper, you just have to explain your concepts and you don't even have to give away your equity percentage. So you don't have to give 10% to this investor, 20% to that investor. Rather, you will create a new token and you will distribute that token between your investors. So Filecoin is basically something in research right now, and it's going to be they want it to be the currency for internet. So right now we all upload on Google Docs, Apple Cloud, Dropbox. Filecoin is saying that you just you don't need to go to these centralized providers. Anyone can contribute, and we can share our files on the network itself. So it's one of the most promising projects. Similarly, all of these blockchain networks, why they are so secure, is because of the cryptography algorithms and hash functions. So people who here teach computer science for in these topics of hash functions, they are aware of SHA 256 and these type of hash functions. Now, who will give you as a startup all this money is always the question. And what happens is the moment someone like Filecoin raises these millions, they want other startups to basically continuously do research, and they will offer grants. So I'll just show that Algorand is a recent blockchain which raised 250 million, and they are giving away in grants. So people who have want to do research, they will get a lot of funding from these kind of other blockchain networks who have successfully raised money. So you just have to create products which their ecosystem expects. And what happens is these cryptographic security functions. So IOTA, SHA-256 and these type of algorithms have been there forever. They have nothing to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just using the technology. But IOTA network said that because of their requirement, they created their own hash function. Now, just last year, that hash function got hacked, and that is unfortunate. Again, this is all an experiment. So some experiments will work, some won't. But that is where basically this industry is moving towards. The next is you can have a lot of research is happening in consensus mechanisms itself. Is proof of work, proof of stake, is how different types of entities who do not trust each other, how they agree on the single truth. So this is what each blockchain network has, is every transaction is verified by different parties, and how do they agree on that transaction was either successful or it failed. When they don't agree, don't even trust themselves. So that is where Bitcoin brought in Bitcoin mining. But now even in enterprise, you have these concepts. There are different consensus mechanisms on different blockchains as well. And a lot of researches, this is a very evolving phase. There is a huge requirement for academic research needed. And again, why we say blockchains are not even ready yet, the technology is very new, is basically you still, what you have is more of a proof of concept. Bitcoin, for all its hype and marketing buzz, just has 10 transactions per second. It is unacceptable for what it promises. And that is where, that is why now, the last 3 years, almost all research funds are getting dedicated to infrastructure projects. So infrastructure is where everyone is trying to address the scalability issue, primarily the scalability issue. And there are multiple different products and multiple different ways that can be achieved. There are, it's called a sidechain, off-chain, state channels. All of these are like, even double PhD holders, they are working on it. It's a very evolving field. And on a high level, it's just called layer 2, which basically it refers to a secondary framework or protocol that is built on top of the blockchain system. So what happens is, we have to keep in mind that blockchain is nothing but a log. It's a database. It is just an audit log. That's all it is. It just saves who has sent to whom, X has sent to Y, how much tokens, and at what time. It is basically a simple audit log that is recorded in a network that cannot be hacked. But because it is so lightweight, it has so less information. When they say the certificate is on blockchain, no, the certificate is 10 MB. It's not on blockchain. It's fingerprint. It's SHA 256 fingerprint is on the blockchain, which is just the hash function. So that is why it cannot be applicable to different industries. So, and that is where if you want to store some different type of data, maybe you store it in an off-chain, and only the required input, required attributes are exchanged with the primary blockchain network. So sidechains is something existing in a different public blockchain with observable relationship between chains like bridges. And when we typically say something is happening on the blockchain network, that is what we call as on-chain. And similarly, there is off-chain, which is everything that happens outside of that blockchain network. And I purposely given Matic because Matic is an Indian IT startup, which is kind of one of the leaders to provide infrastructure products to the Ethereum ecosystem. So there is already a relatively small ecosystem as compared to the IT strength of India, and entrepreneurs have their own reason because there was no clear regulation. They didn't want to, but now there is so much clarity and so much innovation happening that the Indian IT blockchain ecosystem is kind of expanding. And the last and the most obvious is education and learning. Still, no one hardly understands what exactly is Bitcoin, what exactly is blockchain, and the adoption and exponential growth will happen only when it is kind of explained to the non-technical people. Only when the non-technical people start using it as an end user, and decision makers in large organizations in the Fortune 500 companies, they start implementing these technologies. So education needs to happen to many different angles and for different types of people. So lawyers need to be told this. Tomorrow they may be handling a case where there was fraud done through Bitcoin. But if the lawyer don't understand what is Bitcoin, similarly auditing fraud, and not just fraud, just compliance purposes, someone should be doing it. Someone should be doing a check. So this is where a lot of learning, and I really appreciate AICTE and all the think tank for bringing this. This is how slowly it will happen, and nothing better than teaching it to engineering students who will again teach the world in future. So the next is in IT startup opportunities. So now I'm moving from academic to IT startup opportunities, but still IT field, so as to say. So the first thing is what India does best, and India is uniquely positioned to provide IT services and consultancy. The top IT service and consultancy other than IBM and Accenture are all India based. We provide literally services, IT services to the whole world. The entire IT, so as to say, is like we have a joke that TCS, except for Greenland and Antarctica, is present everywhere. But that's actually true, and that is where we So if you Google any Fortune 500 company and the word blockchain, you will see that the company is doing some research, some proof of concept. The moment they decide to take the next step, they are going to need consultancy services and IT services. and no one is better placed than India. And this is a big opportunity. Already there are a lot of startups in Bangalore, in Pune, who are kind of trying to do this. DLT Labs is one of the bigger players. CoinFox is doing it. So, and all of these are Indian names. So, so this is the most, I'll say, low-hanging fruit when it comes to startup in blockchain. Is you just provide IT services. Anyone who wants custom, anything that is custom, just provide it to them. One big opportunity is white labeling. There are like so many exchanges and so many products in blockchain, and all these investors and CEOs in Western countries, they want some product, but they don't want to do it themselves. So again, white labeling is a big industry in blockchain. You can provide that service as well. So one of the obvious use case of blockchain itself is tokens, cryptocurrency coins. And when we say cryptocurrency, everyone only thinks of Bitcoin, but there are so many types of different tokens other than Bitcoin, which is you have exchange coins, which is every exchange where you are transacting, it will have its own need to token. So that token is used as a transaction fee. Even now, when we go on ICICI Direct or sharekhan.com and buy some stock, there is a transaction fee which we pay in INR. These cryptocurrency exchanges need fee in their own token. So there are exchange coins. Then there are stable coins. Stable coin is one of the most fascinating thing, because it is the bridge between our traditional finance and blockchain finance. Stable coins are saying that the value will always be stable to some asset. That asset can be USD, that asset can be gold. So whatever the actual USD value of gold is, our coin's value will be always the same. And that is implemented in multiple ways. MakerDAO is one of the bigger ones. And all these startups which I'm mentioning have already raised millions. Security coins, which is a cryptocurrency like a share, which is in the very regulated domain. So security tokens is big, because right now I am an Infosys shareholder, but I can, if I purchase the Infosys share in BSC, I cannot trade it in NASDAQ, although Infosys is listed at both places. So the only difference, this what security tokens enables is your market is global. There is no local markets. And again, this is a huge use case for the capital markets. Already a few security tokens are live. Similarly, there are digital collectibles, which is all the fancy digital artwork that people send to each other, digital cards. So that is again another big opportunity. And then what happens is there are a lot of startups which really provide a high-end premium service of chain analysis. So as in the regulated domain, what happens is every company has to have an auditor who will go through the accounts and check what's going on, who will audit the accounting books. But if your accounting book is the blockchain ledger, then that needs a specialized service. So that is where these audit services play. Or sometimes, let's say, there is some government authority needs to do investigation and analysis on what's happening on the chain. So you again need none of the cyber security cell of any police force in the world is equipped right now with analyzing blockchain networks. So there are startups who assist governments in analyzing blockchain networks. And of course, the biggest part is blockchain security in itself, because that it holds all the valuable information. Um, the blockchain security, when every day you hear in media blockchain exchange got hacked, we have to keep in mind that it is not the blockchain network that was hacked, but the centralized database of the exchange which had customer data that got hacked, which had the keys that you need for the blockchain network. So security is paramount. Even if we say it's decentralized, but for a user like you and me to connect to the blockchain network, there will always be some centralized components through which we have to go through. So blockchain security is of paramount importance. And similarly, audit. Uh, Audit is another thing, is smart contract audits. So if you had an introduction of smart contracts, all our traditional contracts are now just a piece of code and on the blockchain network. But if that code goes wrong, then it has a big impact, uh, and uh, and it can be a major loss of uh, value, so as to say. So there are many startups who just provide uh, who just provide the service to audit these smart contracts. So that is another big opportunity. Um, and the next is blockchain aggregators. So blockchain, as I mentioned, is nothing but a log file. It's an audit. It's a database that just stores the basic information. And there are hundreds of these blockchains and thousands of these tokens. So as an end user, I cannot understand anything what's happening. And moreover, what if your end users are non-technical? How will they find out all the data? How will they find, like right now, there are so many news channels, it becomes confusing. So that's why Google News just aggregates all that information in one dashboard. You provide your preferences on the topics you are interested in and the news media you want to follow, and everything is aggregated in one dashboard. So these products are like they are really massive appeal from the end user perspective. And I can show you a demo of what is a blockchain aggregator. So as I mentioned, there are hundreds and hundreds of tokens. So if you can see here, just opening, yeah. So each token, if this one aggregator website, which is the leading website in the world, CoinMarketCap, is providing me information on my dashboard on the entire blockchain sector, what's happening. So if I want to check a particular, coin, I just have to click on that. Then I'll get even more information on that. Every tab is aggregated from multiple sources, and the data is shown to me. So what are the volumes on different exchanges? All of this data is shown to me as a non-technical end user in a very simple way. And these aggregators are extremely popular in the community, and even for non cryptos, you need some aggregators which will put all of this together. Yeah. So what I showed you was an example of CoinMarketCap. So blockchain explorer. So similarly, what aggregators do, just they show the data of all the chains, and that data is on a still very high level. But what if you want to explore one particular blockchain network and all the transactions happening in it in core depth? If you want to really if you want to kind of have a deep dive on on a particular blockchain network, then you need explorers. And I'll tell you, this is one of the biggest startup opportunities, because all the startups which kind of are working on its own blockchain, they are not creating their own explorers. It is like basically most blockchain networks are like your mobile Android OS. They need the app ecosystem, and these blockchain companies will give you grants. And even if they don't give you grants, there are ways in which you can, using affiliate, you can monetize your blockchain explorer. So this is one of the world's most popular blockchain explorer for Ethereum. So every second, hundreds of transactions are happening on the blockchain network. This explorer will tell me what is exactly happening in each and individual transaction. And if you see that this product, Blockchain Explorer, there are ads, there are affiliate links. So there are many ways by which these companies have also raised millions, and or they have a big revenue stream. So if you see, this is a sponsored ad. It's just like any other online product where you will have some sponsored ads, but it will show information to me that otherwise, as a non-technical person, it is, even a core technical person cannot visualize all this. So you need a blockchain explorer. It is just like, think of what will happen if you have Windows operating system without Windows Explorer. You just cannot use it. That is why Blockchain Explorer is so core to the success of blockchain. If people cannot understand what's happening in it, they won't use it. So these blockchain explorers are really popular, and maybe you have already read, including Indian state governments in Andhra Pradesh, Haryana. I think even in Maharashtra, they started using or testing out certification or the concept of notarization on blockchain. This is the biggest and the most obvious use case, and I will say a hanging fruit, because blockchain's primary, the big use case is bringing trust. So right now, if you think about it, we are surrounded by different contracts and these certificates. So when you buy any product, food product in India, we have that green is for vegetarian, red is for meat. But what is the guarantee it is really vegetarian? So people are again questioning these. The consumers don't have trust. So that is where, if a QR code is printed on the label of the product itself, and a consumer using a mobile can just scan the QR code, they'll see all the entire history behind it. So again, background checks. When students from India go to North America, there is so much of background check, fraud, and the North American institutes don't trust. So there is this entire certification, and it's a very costly process for students, for even the American universities and Indian universities. So if your certificate is on the blockchain network, anyone, not just the universities, but anyone can verify the authenticity. And that is where even the enterprise, the business world, it is full of certificates. So right now there is a lot of startups who are giving notarizing capabilities. And so I'll just quickly show you what's. So this is where Maharashtra is also planning to pilot blockchain technology, and the certification and all of these use cases are actively being tried out, and they were run in Andhra Pradesh, in Haryana, where mostly what was done was certification use cases. So it's just a matter of time when all of this will become we all know that how much on real estate, land grab, and all these things are happening, which the government is really worried. So that's where certification has a very big use case. Then there is enterprise blockchain products. Now I'm going away from cryptocurrency altogether. And even all this certification has nothing to do with cryptocurrency. And enterprise blockchain is basically private blockchain networks. And enterprises don't need a coin. The token is basically as an incentive mechanism for public. But in private blockchain, there is no mining involved. There is no token. The definition of trust in enterprise blockchain network is different because they already know the parties, each other. So there is already some form of trust. But what happens is there are a lot of business processes where a lot of different parties are involved, and especially supply chain. Supply chain is brilliant because that is a big use case. And what happens in supply chain is that there is a consumer, there is a producer, there is regulators, there are your end user. All of them need to know what's happening right now with orders. And these parties they don't belong to the same organization. Each is a different organization. So depending on the type of supply chain product, even governments many times need to look into what's happening. So gold, blood diamond. So diamond, does it come from a mine in Africa where the child labor was used? All of these supply chain products need full tracking. Coffee, is it organic? There's so much on organic food nowadays. Is it really organic? So all of these, and one of the big, so I've mentioned the name of the technology instead of the company name here. But Hyperledger enables you to have private blockchain networks. Even Ethereum does, but Hyperledger is the leader. So using Hyperledger, there are a lot of enterprise grade products. The other products from enterprise grade products are actually the other enterprise grade products are actually asset management, vaults. So all these digital assets, just like our money we keep in bank, these digital assets, and it can be anything other than cryptocurrency, they need a vault. They need to be securely stored. Someone should be safely storing it in their digital infrastructure. If I have gold certificate, which is backed by real gold, that gold certificate, and when governments have, like, then they need to be stored in a place digitally which cannot be hacked. So these type of enterprise blockchain products, a lot of things are happening. And then similarly, there is government and public sector, which is tricky because governments may or may not want, people want more trust, more transparency. What blockchain I showed you, the blockchain explorer, what happens is, think of it as the entire spending of government is public now. Now we exactly know how the governments are spending. Voting right now in US, because of pandemic, there is a big push on electronic voting. So but there is no trust. So blockchain is bringing that trust. That's all. So government and public sector, there is huge impact and use cases. And last, I will say that social impact, which is the charity and all the entire philanthropy and these sectors. The biggest challenge is, if let's say I am donating to NGO or the refugee crisis, is it really the end user is reaching the money that I'm sending them? Is that person real? There are so many middlemen involved in this process that there is fraud always happens. And the bigger part is, it's not only the middlemen that can create fraud, it is also the end user. Who is it? The refugees, they don't even have their own identity. forget digital identity. They don't even have physical identity. So what if also the funds that are being wired to them, is it really the same person for whom the funds were intended? So digital security, digital money, digital identity, all of that put together in the context of blockchain, social impact is a very big use case. And again, there are products out there like BitGive, which are live. Uh, and lastly, there are sector-specific blockchain products, which I mentioned that blockchain cannot store everything. Just it's a very lightweight audit file. So then, but some industries need a specific type of information. So Bitcoin has its every block has its own format of how much bits are associated for header and things like that. So there are enterprise blockchain networks, public and private both, which are trying to address the issue of that industry. So in the music industry, there is a publisher, there are a royalty involved. Then if there are many things about the music digital file which are not kind of compatible with the way blockchain and Ethereum and other public blockchains work. So then they bring their own blockchain network that is more suitable for the type of data that needs to be stored. So and I've already explained in the earlier slides that blockchain is available on each and every sector. So there are these different already the things are live. Walmart is using blockchain, its own private blockchain to track pork imports from China and things of that nature. So what happens is these things are usually not in media, and even on the website of these companies, they don't necessarily use the word blockchain, because blockchain is a network and a backend technology, but it's powered by blockchain technology already. Last is there are a lot of emerging sectors, especially esports. So this video games, it's again like a blockchain sector. Esports is a sector in itself. It's not just how it was 10 years back, is where some college kids are playing video games. It has evolved to something very big. In fact, there are like Olympics of e-games and video games in Tokyo, Korea, and the amount of revenue they generate is equivalent to the traditional Olympics. So these sectors are huge, and what happens is if you have played any game on your mobile, you will see a lot of different fancy currencies. There are gold tokens, coins you buy, and what happens is these tokens and all tomorrow will be cryptocurrency coins. And the bigger advantage is then everything is in a piece of code and already pre-written. So there's more trust on that. So a lot of these emerging even future of work, which is another emerging sector, is how we work. And because of the COVID pandemic, this is the most sector talked about, future of work. So there is something called as a decentralized autonomous organization, DAO, which is enabled only through blockchain technology, which means there is an organization where there is no hierarchy. Everyone is just partners, and they decide. So if there is if there is funding that is needed in that partner network, then whoever puts in the funding and the returns, they will get only in proportion to what they have added value to. And how is that all tracked? It is through blockchain, and it's called as DAO, which is decentralized autonomous organization. So almost every emerging sector, blockchain has products in these emerging sectors. Lastly, I will quickly say it's not just for IT professionals. The moment we talk about audit, money, compliance is involved, regulatory and legal. So Crypto Kanun is India's #1 legal services. All blockchain companies need a lawyer to tell them what is right, which region they can expand their product. But the lawyers also don't understand themselves. So legal is purely what is law. Then there is compliance, regulatory issues. What if my data is in China or in a country where the government is not allowing? But because blockchain networks are decentralized, distributed, the nodes can be running in a country which is banned. GDPR is one way where Europe kind of completely changed the data privacy regulations. And it had a big implication on the blockchain network because now the regulation demanded that the servers be in Europe itself, whereas that's so it's very challenging for, and every day there is something new. Even the regulators, the governments are working with technology people to try to understand what this technology is. So everyone in this ecosystem need compliance, regulatory, and legal services. Like we go to the local Kirana grocery store for top up our mobile top up, prepaid. But tomorrow you can do that for top up your cryptocurrency or any of that digital payment kind of. So again, regulation is involved the moment you are walking into a grocery store and doing financial services. And this is already happened in Africa, where the mobile top eventually became money. So these things do happen because the push is from top down. The one thing is there is crypto. One thing is every blockchain network has its own economics behind it, so that the supply of those tokens is part of code that cannot be changed, and that is where you need consultants who kind of tell you when you are bringing your own blockchain network or to understand overall the economics of this industry. You need to need these specialized consultants who tell you the token economy. Like for Bitcoin network, a block is created every 10 minutes, and one miner is given 12.5, 6.25 bitcoins for as an incentive. So, and after every 4 years, that block reward is halved. This will go on till the year 2040 or till there are 21 million bitcoins. So all of this is the exact monetary policy. Like governments have a monetary policy. That monetary policy of the blockchain network is part of code. And each blockchain network has its own, not just network, each individual token has very strong economics behind it. If it is not strong enough, if you give away too many tokens and the supply is not there, then it leads to inflation. So it is exactly like how governments manage the monetary policy. This is right now managed using this is right now there are a lot of consultants providing this service.
Good, Kiran.
Yeah, I know I'm running out of time, right?
Yeah,
So I'll just show the. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You can. Ed is waiting for next session.
Yeah. So similarly, there is a need for a continuous research and trends, something like what Deloitte and EY they provide. Then there is blockchain marketing services, which is it's a very unique community. You need to understand the community, what are their needs. So marketing in blockchain, it's very niche and very specialized, I will say. There are advisory services which are provided by all big four consulting, and then there are community and events. Already Ed is there. Bitcoin Bay is the biggest community and the best example. No one knows this. CoinDesk is a journalism, although, but their primary source of income is events, which they do it in New York, one event a year. So, and they kind of The last I will say, I know I'm running out of time, and on each slide I could have spoken for 1 hour. So apologies on that. And the last I'll say is immigration opportunities. If you have a startup, Canada has a startup visa, which is if you are a CEO, you can apply for it and you can get quick immigration token. Different countries like Barbados or Wyoming state in US, they are allowing your company which has a token to be registered. They give you banking access and all of that. And lastly, there is also in Switzerland, which is the Zug Crypto Valley, where a lot of token registration. It's called as the Crypto Valley, but there are other crypto valleys as well. So this is pretty much I tried to explain something I could have spoken for the whole day. I tried to explain it in just 1 hour. So thanks. So any questions, you can always reach out to me. I'll be sharing this slide. It's on the first slide itself, my profile. Reach out to me for any services or anything.
Great.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I really appreciate, it's indeed such a huge topic, and you have such so much depth of knowledge as far as the startups in blockchain is concerned. You yourself have been one of the participants in promoting a new company. So, so actually, it connects very well to the next topic, what Ed is going to present, and that is the ecosystem. You see, you must have seen that just Canadian, this Greater Toronto area. Just now, Kiran showed that there are 91 ATMs. As against whole of India, we couldn't have even one. One ATM was attempted. It was started by Unocoin in Bangalore, and even that had to be closed down. All this is happening because of the ecosystem. The ecosystem includes the government regulations, all the kind of help that is being provided by the other participants, and your colleges do happen to be one of the very important element of the ecosystem. And what all can be done to improve this ecosystem, which will help the whole country to progress in this area. This is something what now Ed will cover. He will cover 3 important aspects of that, and I will leave it to Ed to talk about it. Ed has been very active participant in promoting one community called Bitcoin Bay. Although it's called Bitcoin, they cover all aspects of blockchain. They don't restrict themselves to only Bitcoin. Right in the beginning, they started developing this community. It has come up extremely well, and Ed has primarily the background in marketing and digital promotion, etc. But his passion for blockchain has been so fantastic that he has developed a whole lot of things in this area. So let's listen to Ed. This is going to be a very interesting talk for all of you. Thank you. Ed, please take over.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashok, for welcoming me. Just so I know, are you guys? Can you guys hear me? Is the mic all right?
Good. Ed.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sounds good. So, guys, thank you for taking the time to hear me out and chat with me. It's always great to meet people from the other side of the pond. I'd like to say a big hi to you all, and especially you, Kiran. It's great to share the stage here alongside you. Big thank you to Atul Marath, Ashok Granad, and AICTE, and Dr. Samath Thigel for welcoming me here today. So, guys, I come from a very startup-y kind of culture, where the mode I'm in, the community I'm in, is always open for sharing ideas in real time. So if you want to stop me anytime to ask about a specific topic because I didn't really explore it. You can just raise your hands, unmute yourself, or say, ask me to like clarify a certain thing. I'm happy to take the time to explain or clarify my position. I will be going through a bunch of slides. I think I will, not slides, but I'm going to be using mind maps as a tool to do my presentation today. And I'll be going through some Instagram pages to show you what conducting a community looks like. But that's only on the surface level. There's a lot of things that goes underneath. So I'm gonna open the presentation right now. Share my screen. You see your lovely faces here. So for today's agenda, guys, I'll be chatting about communities, right? Hackathons and bounties. My goal, hopefully, is to show you how easy it is to start a community, right, and why it's important to like have one in your province. And you'll find that everything you've ever missed about like building a company or finding information, right? You feel that you might not know about these things, or where you are might be a very difficult place to like get at those resources. But with a community, you can actually like solve those problems. And hackathons is basically a medium for folks to practice company building, really making products and working in teams. And bounties is essentially going to Kiran's point about like decentralized autonomous organizations, is basically a mechanism that is enabled by blockchain. Enabled by blockchain means that this mechanism didn't even exist before. Bounties allow for people to like take on projects anywhere in the world and get paid for them. And I'll show you ways that you can participate in them. Unfortunately, for now, bounties are very technical focus. So if you know how to use blockchain apps or code or develop products, you can participate in them. If you want to write or want to use creative skills, for example, it's not necessarily ready for that. So yeah, my background is in design. I went to OCAD University. I did advertising. Afterwards, I did a lot of UX work for a lot of agencies. And it was through freelancing with a front-end developer that I learned about blockchain. And since then, I've co-founded Bitcoin Bay. I've taken part in a lot of like companies that propped up here in Canada, helping them with design, helping them with like marketing strategy and UX. And at the same time, I even went on some hackathons myself. These can be like, instead of like going away for some like sports competitions, the competitions I like doing are these technological ones. I've been part of like big ones like ETH New York, ETH Waterloo, and some in Toronto. And just recently, oh, sorry, did someone want to ask a question?
No, sir, carry on. It was by mistake.
Okay, all good. Yeah, so yeah, and just recently, my team at Learn and Earn won the AVE prize for Hack Money on 2020, and it was a really great project. So if you want to like look it up and see the demo video, just screenshot this and search Learn and Earn at Hack Money and save it and bookmark it. Actually, I'll even save it. And I want to point out something here. You see these guys over here, Jessa, Daniel, and Victor, and Meet, right? I met them in the community meetups, right? I actually Meet in a lot of the networking events in ETH Global. So this thing where you're chatting and meeting people and sharing ideas with people is actually very although it looks from the surface really banal, it's actually the foundation of the teams, the industries that you want to work with. And you can achieve a lot if you just give it a little bit more time. Yeah, there we go. So at Bitcoin Bay, right? We are one of the longest running communities in Toronto. Oh, by the way, guys, can you see this? Do you want me to zoom in a little bit more?
Yeah, this is better.
Okay, sounds great.
And
so
some
like,
some of the links that you are suggesting, if you could copy paste them into the chat window, it will be easy for people to remember them.
Of course. I'll put the Learn and Earn right here for you guys to peruse on a later on.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, welcome. So so at Bitcoin Bay, our mission really is to grow the blockchain ecosystem, right? We believe the status quo, how the monetary system works, how companies like treat their workers, how companies in other countries don't even like give people justice. We don't believe the status quo is not working anymore. So our mission is to grow the blockchain ecosystem to actually bring the potential that blockchain brings. Blockchain can bring a lot of opportunities that that can solve a lot of problems that Kiran has been like sharing you guys, and we do that in very specific ways. We scale startups, right? And we also help investors find opportunities. That's the main activity that we do. This was born out of like our community group that started a very long time ago. Before going into that, I want to show, like, in the beginning, when you're starting your community, don't be worried about like it being like having 100 people, right? You don't need that. Sometimes all you need is 10 people in a room making presentations and sharing ideas, so that you guys learn a topic better, or find out that there are things that you never knew about by being in this group. Right over here is basically a small meetup that took place in a co-working space in Toronto around 2014. Yeah, there you go. And in this room right now is the CEO of CoinKite. This is Rostan and Peter Todd right over here. Virgil Rostan actually is the CTO of CoinSquare. Unfortunately, they went through some trouble, so he's no longer there anymore. And Peter Todd is one of the biggest developers in Bitcoin. The crazy thing, guys, is that all these things about these folks I just pointed out wasn't really there. They didn't develop their names yet when we were doing this. We were just talking about blockchain, and particularly Bitcoin. And a small thing about Bitcoin Bay and why it's called that, it's because we wanted to start a community group. Like we noticed that a lot of blockchain meetups were dying down around 2013. So we took up that mantle. Back then, oh, sorry, my cat's here. Back then, blockchain was not even a word. Smart contracts was not even a word. And where we are now is that we got so much vocabulary that can explain this industry. We got so much vocabulary where we can talk about what the potential is and be more clear about it. We have so much more vocabulary that we can actually create some really cool business models that were empowered by blockchain but never existed before. So if this is a little bit jarring, please let me know. I can like slow down. For community, what do you need? What core components do you need? You need an open mindset, right? You need to be welcoming to lots of people, right? I mean it in the sense like really challenge yourself about how welcoming you can be. Like there will be crazy people, right, who will join your meetups. Oh, sorry guys, there's a cat in the room. I just need to get him out. Apologies for that. Yeah, being open-minded, and this word will really challenge you guys, right? There will be crazy people who know about like blockchain, for example, but have very opposite views to you that you would never necessarily agree with. But the idea is you want them inside your community because they'll give you a point that is so different that it actually might be interesting for you. It might be useful to have that kind of point of view. If you listen enough, you'll find a little bit of truth into why they feel a certain way. And I think that's also very like beneficial for you. So welcome the people with the tinfoil hats in your meetups is what I'm saying. And also let other people with other skill sets join your meetup. And going back to this, Virgil worked in banks. Alwyn worked in the bank. Antoine was a developer. Rodolfo was a developer here. This guy over here, I forgot his name. It was a long time ago. Was a musician. Without blockchain, there's not necessarily a common thread between all the folks here. But what joined us together was that we all loved blockchain and what it meant. Even though we didn't even have a complete picture of it at the time, because, like I said, we didn't have the vocabulary back then. Another core component is to be consistent. And what I mean by that is, meet, be in a place, gather, do it every month, if you're starting out, or do it every 2 weeks. The important thing is to have it in a consistent time. And it doesn't need to be that crazy, right? If you're starting out, you can just get a coffee table and put a meetup.com event and just like tell people that you're meeting, right? An event of just 5 people is enough to start your meetup or your mini community. All right, and then find people who share your vision and work together, right? Work with what you got. So I think I'll go into more detail about work with what you got when we get into hackathons. But essentially, the team members that you find inside these meetings, right? The team members that you chat with and you get to jive along with, right, will be eventually the people that you can work with, and they have different skills. There needs to be a little bit of creativity involved when you find someone who's a developer and who's a marketeer and who has a financial background, right? You'll find out that they're in a surface level, they are not necessarily people who will work together in the same environment, but with a little bit of creativity, these folks that I just listed actually can be part of something bigger. These folks that I listed are actually part of Bitcoin Bay, and together we're actually growing that ecosystem together. So you never know who your team members will come from these kind of meetups. So yeah, why communities? Connect with like-minded people, right? People you meet at these communities, people you meet in these meetups don't pay to get there. They're driven by their passion of that topic. And I mean it in very general terms, right? It doesn't need to be blockchain. It could be AI, right? Those folks are there and they're passionate enough to make their way there to be in these events, right? And they didn't pay for it. They really dedicated their time to be there. They wanted to be there. That's how you know. That's a great test for you to know that this person's serious, right? You can eventually, right? If they are very like-minded as you, right? You can work with them. But at a minimum, like even if you don't work with them, their ideas that they share with you can actually improve what you know about a certain topic. In Bitcoin Bay communities, we had a lot of traders that come in, and we had a lot of developers come in. right? And that was very useful for me as a designer, because from those folks that I was chatting with, I learned about trading, right? I learned about how to be very patient and not let your emotions get in the way, because you'll lose every trade if you act that way. With talking to developers, I learned about how blockchain is at a core level, and the difference between that and smart contracts, and the difference between different blockchains, right? So going back to open-minded, right, and letting other skill sets join in, that's why you need that community. It's your little village of like-minded people that's essentially gives you this great resource for mentorship. If you want to improve idea, those people that you meet are the people that you chat with, right? It's a great place to find an opportunity, learn about new companies that are in the space, and you also get a good state of the industry. As let's say when I was in 2014, right, and to where I am now, as we got into more meetings, I learned more vocabulary. I learned more people who were experts in their field, and I was getting information as it was being developed, right? I was getting information a little bit faster than information was being put on Google and findable on Google. So that's what I mean by great resource. And if you're really good at creating an environment for community, you will get that resource over here. So I want to clarify two things and about communities, because I've noticed here, at least in Toronto, yeah, you can have two types. I'm going to get into corporate culture first, right? And this is a big thing here in Toronto. It's exactly what people have in mind about what when you think about communities. It's very organized, right? The turnout is going to be 60 to 200 people in these events. It's much bigger than these ones right over here, right? There's budget from the company. So the big meetups that I'm talking about are like Tech Toronto, for example, or Collision. You pay, the companies sponsor those events, and there's a lot of production value in those events. There's a lot of marketing. You see ads all over Facebook. You see ads on posters on the streets. And then you see paid ads on LinkedIn as well. It's very, very produced. When you get there too, there's a lot of free food. If you're able to pay for that $50 ticket, there's a lot of free food as well as drinks and networking, right? There's a lot of produced presentations. So imagine this presentation, but with bells and whistles with it, right? Imagine presentations where there's music or better produced slides and microphones and showrunners and people who work in the background making sure the lights work and the speakers are clear, right? That's what I mean by produced presentations. And then there's curated agendas. Like, imagine in a 4-hour time slot, you have speakers, right, who are experts in the communities, right? And those speakers have very curated content. They are talking about a certain topic and have made a presentation that they spent months to, or at minimum 2 weeks to put together. And then it's premium venues. TechTO, for example, it's a huge kind of venue hall near the lakeshore. So it has a great view when you get outside. And partnerships with government entities. When a community gets big enough, like for example, the general startup community or the AI community, government takes notice, right? And that's actually a good thing, because it's a sign that your industry has made it, right? And is in the process of participating in the economy. But if you can get that early, that's also a really great bonus. But there's a little bit of a flip side to that, right? Because these events are so huge, right? It takes a while to put them together. You have to scout for the venues and book the venues, right? And what I mean by that is you have to look for different huge rooms and see what their prices are like, see if they're available, and then book them. And then when you book them, they're like around $10,000 to rent. I'm calling out Mars Mars Innovation District. Mars is essentially a government accelerator here in Canada, and their rooms are like $15,000 to like book, and you have to book them, you know, a few months in advance. You have to produce your content, and that takes a while too. You have to like chat with moderators so that you know, like a moderator is someone who talks to like 4 people in a panel, for example, and that moderator has to make sure the content's good and make sure that the panelists also know what that content's about. And then booking and interacting with personalities, that takes a long time. So like if you're talking to a Jed McCaleb or a Chris Hutchinson from Cardano, it takes a while to even get their attention, talk to them about what you want to like feature them in, and then write up a short document about what you want to talk about for a small interview. That takes a while. And yeah, it requires long, because these events are longer, sorry, these events are bigger and they're more expensive. These events need to ticket to offset that expense. So TechTO, for example, charges around $20. Collision, which is a massive conference that takes place every year. It's so huge that it only takes, it's once a year, right? Those events cost around like $600 to like $1,000 per ticket. And yeah, I'm sure you've experienced that in India. But there's another way to grow community, right? A very grassroots way of doing it. And I've noticed this startup culture take place in Berlin and in Silicon Valley. And just because it's grassroots doesn't mean it's any less less quality as these events over here, right? I'm going to open it up, and it's more ad hoc. Startup culture is very ad hoc. What I mean by that is you can just make a small post on meetup.com, for example, and then you go to a cafe and then just wait for people to be there, right? And they'll be there. It's these ad hoc events are smaller. They're around 30 to 60 people, right? Sometimes it's mostly in a sometimes you can find them inside bars, sometimes in coffee shops, right? Anywhere where the point is, it's a place where people feel comfortable. It's not high value like these conference venues, right? Anywhere where you feel comfortable, people can sit down and be themselves, right? That's the environment you're looking for. You with ad hoc startup culture kind of like events, you can operate on a limited budget. You can actually do a lot with $0. So as long as, like for example, how we did it at Bitcoin Bay was very easy. We told certain venues that we would bring them at least 20 people to their restaurant on days where there is nobody. And those days are Mondays, right? And then we just made a deal with that. We told them we'll bring a consistent number of people in dead days. Just give us those Mondays, right? So we came to that agreement. And now we held those events. And we essentially have a reliable venue spot, you know, like every 2 weeks. You can be scrappy when you solve those problems. You can use basic networking tools. And what I mean by that is you can use WhatsApp to start your community. You can use meetup.com to start your community, or even Telegram, right? The point is to be very scrappy, right? Use all the tools, the free tools that you have at your disposal to create this community. And the thing is, you'll discover your community that you will build will prefer certain tools than other communities. For example, here in Toronto, we use WhatsApp a lot. We use meetup.com a lot to also like communicate. We use MailChimp to send out newsletters. But over where you are, right, you might actually use some different tools to communicate to your crowd or start your crowd, right? You might even use Facebook more than we use WhatsApp over here. The point is, use the tools that your community is comfortable with. Ad hoc events are usually free to attend. They're easier to organize, right? What I mean by easier to organize is you can organize them within 1 week, right? It's that fast. Last year, we got so good at organizing events that we could do 5 every month. And then in these ad hoc meetings, or in these ad hoc meetups, right? People are like-minded, right? So that's kind of interesting. In bigger events, you'll find people who don't actually share your point of view, are there for different reasons, right? So radically different reasons that there's not enough common ground, right? And informal communication channels, yeah. So that goes into like Facebook and WhatsApp, right? So going back to this is how we started, and slowly over time, because we were consistent, right, and we were smart about how we booked venues, right, we grew what we were doing. We actually had some really fantastic personalities come over. This gentleman over here is Michael Perklin. He is the co-founder of a company called Shapeshift, and Shapeshift was essentially the first service on the internet using blockchain to convert Bitcoin to Ethereum, and vice versa, and any other coin, for example. Now you have DeFi apps like Uniswap doing the same thing, but these guys were the first people to do it and did it really successfully. And once you be consistent, you get practice, and that practice allows you to do much crazier formats that are actually like very interesting. Right over here is a panel event with the co-founders. And right over here is you also have some you make some interesting friends along the way. Right over here is Greeting Lee from Swissborg, and Louis B from from her own company called Louis B. And right here is actually a trading seminar, right? We hosted this in a very fancy co-working space, and we just taught people about the basics of trading, and it was a well-attended event. And essentially we had to get kicked out of this place because we spent too much time chatting afterwards. That's how interesting it is to start your own community. The conversation is very difficult to stop, and part of being part of a community is that you have a base to start with. These folks over here, right? This guy is Nick Spanos. He actually leads the blockchain center in Miami, and actually is the founder of actually, I would argue, the world's first purely blockchain co-working space and accelerator. And yeah, it was through like consistent contact with him and meeting him in Miami for their events that we got to learn more about how Miami and the US saw blockchain. We saw a very different style of community over there compared to here. Because they're in Miami, they can do some really crazy parties in beaches. So yeah, like once you have your own group, you can find other groups, because you'll develop that rapport that meeting new people is very easy, and it's actually very fun. And yeah, one of the things that we did while we grew was our hackathon, right? This took place in Ryerson University. Essentially, people were hacking for 2 days to come up with prototypes for startup products and blockchain startup products. And there were presentations, there were prizes, there were workshops, and it was actually a fun 2-day event. And we didn't reach this point until 2018. This is 4 years into what we're doing. 4 years of consistency can get you to this point, right? Where you're actually starting to build blockchain apps. And another part of the community that you can meet in while you grow, right, are people like Sora Ventures, right over here, Jason Fang, and Paul Varaditakit Pantera Capital. Like, these two firms are one of the oldest firms in the blockchain industry that funded startups. And guess what? They came from Hong Kong, right over here, and Paul came from Silicon Valley, right? When you start your own community, you attract like-minded people from all over the world to come and chat with you. Your network essentially grows, right? And so does your know-how. And you know what? It didn't take you. It just took your time and not that much like capital to like actually start. Of course, when you start a business, that's a totally different thing. But the idea of creating communities is actually can be very cost effective, and it's a cost effective way of networking. It's a cost effective way of learning new skills and also growing your professional network as well. So yeah, that's the thing about communities. I touched on hackathons very briefly, and so this is going to be the next topic. Before we get to that, is anybody interested in creating communities over there in where you guys are in India? Do you have any like questions that you may have about, like, you know, holding groups or starting one?
Yeah, and Atul here.
Any question?
We do have a lot of meetup groups happening, at least in the cities, and some of them are online, so people from different cities can join in them. And since the population is high, we already have 15, 20, 70 people in most of the meetups.
Yeah, that's really good. Like, good on you guys. Yeah, so like I'd love to learn the meetup groups there that happen in India.
Yeah, but let me add one more thing, since we are actually, our audience here is all college faculty members. Unfortunately, I have not seen any of these meetups which are really being organized by the colleges, or colleges taking any lead into that. There are some faculty members who do participate in these meetups, but generally it has not been initiated at the college or university campuses. Like what we see here, like in York University. I mean, it was an excellent exercise what York University people performed in that blockchain hub. So something similar needs to happen in colleges in India, and our audience today can actually help us in doing that.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with you on that one, Ashok. And a lot of the student groups that actually that I've seen, right? They started as clubs. So like, if you can create a chess club, or if you can create a investing club or a tennis club, you can create a blockchain club, right? And I think schools over where you guys are can actually support having extracurricular kind of clubs in your event. I've seen a lot of like students just like book a room, right? Just book a classroom and just meet there, right? The idea is you don't need to like be too serious about the production of it. When you're starting, it's all about finding the people who share your same values and then meeting consistently with them. And to your point of student groups, one example to look at is Blockchain Education Network. I'll post this over in the chat. To your point, Ashok, like, this is a student group that agglomerates student groups from all these colleges all over the world. And I think they have some groups that take place in India. So that's worth having a look at. I'm going to put the link inside for those of you to learn from. It will be a good starting point for the attendees here to, like, start their own thing starting from a college. And all right, so at that, I'll get into blockchain hackathons. There are many different types of hackathons, but I'll specifically chat about blockchain ones. So where does the word hackathon come from, right? Actually, hack can mean three things. Hack means to crudely cut, right? It means to like chop something, but do it in such a bad way. Hack means also to sloppily put things together. So like I'm hacking this door together means that I'm putting random parts in it that might not even look like a great job, but it actually gets the job done. Like the door still opens and closes and seals a room, for example. And hacking also means you're solving that problem creatively. Hackathons are essentially the two bottom definitions. The definition. Oh my God, long word. The definitions here in blue. And essentially, it's a competition where like technical people and theoretical people meet. They form teams, and they come up with prototypes for apps or services that could one day be companies. And sometimes like when you go into these competitions, there are prizes in the end, and I'll get into that very quickly. So yeah, who goes to blockchain hackathons? Blockchain companies, right? In ETH Global, which is one of the biggest hackathons on the planet right now, they do a lot of hackathons that involve a lot of Ethereum-based companies, and one of them was Aave, right? That's the team that we went after for Hack Money over here. Aave was the technology that underpinned this submission. Oh, and this is our hackathon, Block Hack Global. We're actually thinking of starting it in early Q4 this year, and it's going to be a global hackathon. So if you guys are thinking of forming a team, testing out an idea, trying to turn that into a company, I'd like to ask you guys to check it out and sign up. We haven't started the marketing material yet. You guys are essentially hearing this for the first time. But I'll be sharing the invitations to Ashok and Atul. So when we're ready, we'd love to have you over. So who goes? Mentors also go. We get technical mentors, business mentors, and company reps. What I mean by technical mentors is you can have designers there, you can have coders there, and they help you improve your product when you build it inside the hackathon. There are business mentors who can help you with improving your business idea. I mentioned block science, and Kira mentioned MLG blockchain. So imagine folks like those in the hackathon helping you improve your token economic model, your business model, right? Examining your flows. That's actually very invaluable in helping you actually build your use case, your idea. And there'll also be company reps there too. So company reps who do business and technical. And that's kind of cool because, if you wanted to work in some big companies, blockchain companies, you can, find out who's hiring in those hackathons. Sometimes you also see investors there. They're looking for really great projects, right? They're looking for really great projects to catch them at the end of the hackathon and invest in them because they believe in what they're doing. So the bigger the hackathon, the more connected the hackathon, the more that these investors will come in because they're looking for the next Vitalik or Satoshi, I suppose. And there are hackers also that come in there. The reason I put mindsets is because it would seem that there are developers, designers, and business people, but sometimes a person could have two of these three mentalities too, right? So if your team has these three components inside the your hackathon team, you can build a lot, and you can actually do some crazy cool applications and company ideas. And it's all about the mindset too. It doesn't need to be in one person. So I'll get into why. What's the point of actually like joining one? What's this competition all about? Well, there's three major reasons, right? You can find opportunities, right? You can get noticed by HR scouts if you're looking for a job, right? And you happen to be in a team and you're making your product and your product actually works in front of judges. You're probably going to get hired by that company because they like you a lot. You can network with potential co-founders and partners. The person in your team, right? If you like what you built together and you jive really well, when you create that company, these folks that you worked with could be your co-founders, right? And the thing is, if you're looking for a CTO or a CEO person that you want to work with, right? You kind of need to test those skills, right? In that person that you want to work with. How do you test that? By going in a short competition with them that only takes like a month at the most, and you can find out how that person works. And it's a great filter for your partners. And let's say you are a team that already has a company that but just needs to find an investor, right? Bring your product to that hackathon, right? Your prototype, bring it there, show it off to judges. Investors will be watching. If they find out that you want to grow your company, have a chat with them. They might actually seed fund you. Another reason you'd go, personal development, right? Learn to work in teams is one skill that you get to like practice. If you're coming out of school and you don't know how to work in a 5-person team, it'll be very difficult for you to like get a grasp of like how to get in work in startups. And hackathons are that great way to like learn that very quickly, right? And it's actually also cost effective because at most you're just spending 2 days. 1 month. At the very least, it's 2 days, right, of your time. You'll get to learn team building, right? You'll get to learn how to build consensus really quickly, or else you won't get your product out to be judged. There's some key components also in your that you need in your team. So let's say your product is pure technical, right? It's just an API that you're improving, or it's just something that hooks up to it's a backend component that hooks up to many services that already exist. It's a pure technical product. Sometimes having developer personalities in your team is all you need. That's it, right? But if you're building a user-facing product, you kind of need a developer, you need a designer, you need a business person, and you need a researcher, right? A developer to actually make things work, a designer to make things viable in front of people, a business person to make things viable from an economic point of view, a researcher to actually also help you make sure that what you're building is actually useful. A researcher will help you point where the actual problems are with numbers. And when you're in front of investors, these researchers actually like back your use case. Yeah, and another point in personal development, you can sharpen your skill set. You can get to code better. You can get to design better. You get to innovate better business models. You learn to present your idea, right, as a team, right? So all those Shark Tank or Dragon's Den pitches, imagine doing them a lot because you're doing them in hackathons. That's really great practice. And then build a better work ethic. So because you're working a very tight deadline and you have to work with team members, right? You actually learn how to work effectively. And that's a really great skill to like cultivate. Another reason why people join is also to win prizes. For example, this hackathon over here, Learn and Earn, we won 2,500 DAI out of this, and we split it amongst the 5 members. So we each got like 500 out of it. And I know that is a very small amount, but for some people starting out, that's actually a lot. And those are bounty prizes. Guys, bounties are the third part I'd like to share with you. and I'll get into that very soon and how that works. Another way of winning prizes is seed funding. At the very end, an investor might even fund your thing. Sometimes there's no money, but it's still fun because you get to have stickers, you get to have swag, you get to have maybe even lunch with a famous personality, right? Getting at those non-monetary prizes actually is a draw for hackathon attendees. And then what is it exactly specifically? So there are two types of hackathons. One is online and one is offline. The online one usually takes between 2 and 5 weeks of hacking, and then there's 1 week of judging. It's a very long period of time to actually build your product, which is actually really good. You get to present something that's really polished if your team is consistent about working with each other. When you're working in an online team, you kind of need some things in hand. You need to know how to use Zoom. You need to know how to use Discord. You need to know how to use WhatsApp. And not necessarily all at once. Sometimes you can be good at one. And you also need to build your product. Know how to use Google Suite, Google Documents, for example, to make your presentations. You need to also set up your developer environment in advance before going into the hackathon. Node.js for your back and front end integration. Truffle for your front end frameworks, and then some dependencies also. And they could be Chainlink, Aave, or some ERC contracts that you want to use. Having all these set up, right? Having all these set up in advance as a developer gets you to hack immediately, right? So you're not wasting time building your studio on your computer. From a design side, you'll need to have Sketch or Figma or Keynote to make presentations. So these are tools that are kind of needed in your repertoire to accomplish your product. And this is actually great practice for you to coordinate building your product too, because you're working with 5 different team members potentially, and you need to coordinate with them. Going into a hackathon actually is great practice in building your product and coordinating. Offline hackathons. This is an example of an offline hackathon, right? You get to a location, right? And it's very it's actually 2 days. You can't spend a month inside this location cooped up, but in those 2 days you don't take a break. It is like a marathon. You stay there until you stay there from Friday night, and you stay there in the event till Sunday lunchtime to make your presentation. You're stuck with your team to build your product. But in that meantime, there's a lot of free food. There's a lot of presentations, and you can actually physically network with the attendees, which is a great bonus that you don't have with online hackathons. The required tools are much in the same way. You need to have these competencies to build your product. And yeah, usually hackathons can range from a 2-day weekend to up to 1 month. I've seen hackathons go to 6 months also, but those are very, very rare. And if they are 6 months, what they're asking you to build is ginormous. So you got to be a really great team to even compete in those. There are tech-focused hackathons where you're supposed to be building on sponsors' technologies, like ETH Global forced you to use Aave, for example, or forced you to use Chainlink. Tech-focused also means that you're fixing the bugs in their libraries.
Hi, Ed.
Yeah. Hey.
Sorry to disturb you, but you might be overshooting the time because we have
Oh.
only 10 minutes left.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. And then there are accelerator ones, guys. I realize it's 9:30, and I realize it's late on your side. So I'll go through this last point very quickly. Right.
I think you might extend by 5-10 minutes. Tigray sir, is it okay to extend by 10 minutes?
Well, yeah, it's really up to you guys. I can just show the bounties thing in 2.
Yeah, I think 5-10 minutes is okay.
Oh, okay. All right, guys.
No problem, sir. No problem. No issue.
Yeah. All right. So, to be honest, but this section will be breezed right through very quickly. We talked about decentralized autonomous organizations because one of the aspects that DAOs or autonomous decentralized autonomous organizations do is payroll, right? Paying people, automating that. And bounties is one way of doing payroll and actually accomplishing tasks. There are 2 bounty platforms that come to mind here. One is DevCash, and that's actually like developed by my colleague Anton de Voist. If any of you technical folks were watching his seminar a few days ago, he actually co-developed the DevCash platform. There's also Gitcoin. The principles is the same. If I'm a company and I want a task done, a simple task, for example, like fix my website, or change the font, for example, I make the job and post it on these platforms, right? And I give a reward for accomplishing that task. The idea is I don't care who works on the problem as long as the problem's solved, and I'll pay that person. That's very interesting because bounties allow for tasks to be done by people all over the world, by companies in radically different places. And because payroll is automated, right? The economic friction between the company and the employee is actually very minimal. So we can actually start bounties are actually a really interesting way of of what the economic future looks like. Sorry guys, I had to turn off my my phone here. It's buzzing all the time. So for now, bounties are very basic, right? They can't take on full ginormous projects. They can only take small ones, right? When I mean small one is like fix a bug here in this smart contract, or add a button on this application, or add this fix this ERC standard, right? Or write a paper, right? It's very short, simple tasks. Bounty hunters is essentially people who take on the project, take those tasks on, and then submit the work. My critique of bounties is that the best work gets chosen by the issuer. The best work gets chosen by the person who put up the problem. My critique in this one is that you could be in a situation where you're doing a lot of speculative work, right? So it can be very risky if you're doing a lot of bounties and you never get paid for them. There's no way in the bounty mechanisms that I've seen, right, that incentivizes even participating, right, making it worth your time to even start the project, right? So there's a risk that you might not even get paid for the work that you've done. That's one of the critiques. And another aspect of bounties is that it's paid out in crypto. You can't be paid out in dollars. That's because to allow for this really cool economy of issuing tasks and getting paid for them, you need blockchain, you need crypto. And there's many ways that you can get paid in. You can get paid in stable coin crypto so that the price of the crypto doesn't go up and down like crazy, or you can be paid in Bitcoin if you want to catch that upside at the risk of the price going up and down. Originally, bounties, right? What you see over here was innovated in hackathons, right? That's where they started. Basically, hacker teams were taking on challenges issued by hackathon companies, and the person with the best submission won, and they won the crypto at the very end. And basically, the tasks were very simple. Use Chainlink in your smart contract, or use Ethereum ERC 720 contracts for this, or use an ETH domain name or ENS domain name for your app, right? It's very simple technical tasks, and a lot of the bounties that I've seen is ecosystem development focused, right? Because they're issued by blockchain companies, the tasks are only helpful for blockchain companies. They're usually fix bugs. They implement integrations. For example, let's say you want to have Amazon, right? Have a crypto button, right? That's what I mean by implement integrations. You can put a Bitcoin address button inside your Amazon extension or shop, right? That's what I mean by that. Build marketing, right? You build ads for Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin or Ethereum. And you are also paid, right? Going back to communities, full circle, right? You're actually paid for holding meetups. Some blockchain companies allow bounties for that. And so yeah, that's bounties in a nutshell, guys. And yeah, I'll leave it to questions for you guys if you're curious about any intricacies, if you want to know more. And I'm sure you guys are getting this pre-recorded too, so it's gonna be good. And yeah, at that, I'll leave it to the crowd here if anybody want to ask questions.
Usually what is the duration for the hackathons?
Well, depends, right? If it's a offline hackathon, it's 2 days. If it's a long online hackathon, you need a month, because you need to develop the skills to co-work with your partners online, and you can't do an online hackathon in 2 days.
Okay, thank you. Any more question from participants?
Thanks, Akshay. Yeah. I hope the format wasn't too crazy for you guys.
Ashok sir, over to you for a vote of thanks.
I think that was great. I think this was really an excellent introduction to our community, to really know what way the community needs to be developed. And I hope I'm going to take a feedback from everyone as to in what aspect they would like to participate in this community development. And I hope that your global blockchain hackathon that is going to happen after September, I really hope that a few teams from India would be able to participate in that. So let's look forward to some real outcome out of this event. And
of course.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ashok. And someone asked if on the chat, right, if I could suggest a web form to explore blockchain. Our education partners, Blockchain Education Network, has a portal with all these different blockchain resources in one place. So that's a great place for you guys. It's also meant for students. IoT and blockchain-based application in hackathon. That I don't know if that's how you formatted that question, but in hackathons, you can come in with any kind of product you want to build, right? And if there is a IoT sponsor in the hackathon, you are incentivized to build an IoT application. Meetups.com, you'll find Bitcoin Bay there, and yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Right.
Sir.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me, and yeah, like I hope you guys have a great head start for building your own communities and joining your own or creating your own competitions as well.
Okay. Thank you, Edie. It's really great to have an interactions with you. Thank you for sharing your experience. Definitely, we at SVERI family would like to get connect with you on the same through Ashok sir. So might be today, because actually I insisted my principal sir to be here, but because of some scheduled work, unable to join. But very soon we will try to have a separate meeting with you under his guidance. Thank you, sir, for sharing this. Thank you, Ashok sir. Thank you everyone. Thank you.
Okay, well, have a great rest of your evening, guys, and yeah, we'll connect soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, and have a nice day.
Yeah,
bye, everyone.
Okay, few instructions for the participants. Tomorrow schedule, I'll just discuss the tomorrow schedule. Perfect schedule you will get on WhatsApp group tomorrow morning. Probable session will start like 2 to 4. There will be a quiz, there will be a test, and 5 to 7 we will have a session where 5 to 6 probably 1 hour will have interactions with might be Ashok sir and Atul sir will guide us, and 6 onwards we will have a valedictory session. So please follow the same what we are following since last 5 days. So hopefully you are enjoying and taking home a lot of knowledge. Thank you all. Thank you. We'll catch tomorrow at 2 p.m. Thank you. Atul sir?
Yeah, that's right. We will have the test.
Yes, 2 to 4 we will have a test.
Yes, we'll have 1 hour test for blockchain and 1 hour test for DevOps. There will be multiple choice questions. And I think my guesstimate is that you'll need less than 45 minutes to complete that test, but we'll give 1 hour because of network speeds and everybody not joining in time and so on.
Yes, sir. Yes. So totally 2 hours we are giving for the test.
And then 5 to 6. Yeah, then after 4 you can have a break, and 5 to 6 we have 1 hour session to discuss what the other things you would like to do or how we can collaborate with the with our experts in Canada and so on.
Yes, sir, definitely. And exactly 6 o'clock we will start with the valedictory ceremony. Okay, fine then.
Yeah, we'll do. Or if you start earlier also you want, that's fine, because half an hour maybe enough
we
for
will check it out, sir. We will check it out. We will try it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Whether
you.
5:30 or 6, it depends on how enthusiastic people are.
Yes. Definitely. Sir. Atul sir.
Okay then. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.